Knick of
Oh,
Time show. Go check out that show. It's a great show. It's a great show.
York, New York, big city of dreams. New York, New York, big city of dreams.
let's go! It's your boy, the Latin assassin, Leah Stabito in the house for the KOT show, holding down the fort on a very, very busy day in the NBA. Lots of trades happening right now. You're seeing both teams in the East and the West in an arms race, trying to negotiate and get pieces to build up into their championship window. So far, nothing on the Knicks front, but we are seeing a lot of things for our rivals, specifically two of our main rivals, Detroit Pistons and Boston Celtics. Both made moves today. I'm going to be going through the news of a day, as well as the possibilities on how these moves could potentially impact the Knicks, both in trades and potential free agent signings. Should any of these players that were moved today be on the waiver wire and bought out by their receiving teams and then enter the free agent pool? Now, I don't have my main man, Fritz Alessandro, with me today. So it is possible, disclaimer, there could be some minor arithmetic and money issues that might not add up. All of this right now is speculation, but I am targeting players that I have either heard from my sources or based on intel that Ian, Fred Katz, and others have reported in the last couple of seasons of possible players that they've at least checked in on interest wise on guys that are out there that have actually been traded today. So let's break down what we've heard so far from Shams Charania, who, in my opinion, is no Adrian Wojnarowski, who is really the GOAT when it comes to these type of trade deadline days. He was always ahead of a curve and really didn't he didn't tweet unless necessary, which I really liked. There's been a lot of prolonging. Feels like this and Jonathan Kaminga and the Giannis trades have just lasted forever in terms of speculation. It's nice just to have kind of one or two solid tweets that let the public know where things are at based on the intel, opposed to just smoking strings and mirage trying to get clicks for views. So what do we have? We had trade in the East with the Chicago Bulls, sending Nikola Vucevic to the Boston Celtics plus second round pick for Anthony Simons and a second round pick. Now, we all knew that Simons was definitely just a band-aid during the search for finding a replacement for Drew Holiday. No one thought Anthony Simons would be the long-term solution at point guard. He's not a distributor, he's not a defender, and he has no size at the point of attack. So we knew that he would eventually probably be flipped down the line, and now he has. Boston is kind of just having a mismatch of assets right now, playing things pretty close to the chest, trying to decide if they want the long rebuild or a short rebuild, while offloading a contract they have been trying to move for 3 seasons now in Nikola Vucevic. I've been told there were multiple trades on the table last year at the deadline, trades this summer at the deadline to try to offload Vucevic. The Knicks also inquired in on Nikola Vucevic, from what my sources told me, but they just couldn't find a taker for his massive contract that matches the overpay that Anthony Simons received in Portland. But the thing about Vucevic now, he's going to a situation that is already a really good defensive team that can hide and mitigate some of his flaws at the 5. It's not even guaranteed that he'll start at the 5. I think he will because of seniority, but they have a pretty good thing going over there. Boston's a top 5 team in the East right now. There's no reason to completely change the trajectory while they're waiting on Jason Tatum recovering from that Achilles injury to kind of mess up their rotation and mess up their defensive teams. They're also one of the best defensive teams in the NBA as well, under the leadership of Jaylen Brown. So Vucevic might not enter the starting lineup right away, but I think eventually he will be their starting 5. And he gives them a lot offensively of what Kristaps Porzingis gave him. Vucevic, when blitzed and pick and roll, is a great decision maker. He's excellent passer, elite passer, not just in the corners, but also in the high post, in the pinch post, at the elbow, on the perimeter and handoff situations. He's someone that can really have the offense ran through him and then have spray outs to Derek White, Jason Tatum when healthy, and Jaylen Brown. It's dangerous. They really just need now a point of attack defender at the 1. They don't really need a creator anymore with Vucevic at the 5 if you're going to be running the offense through him and the wing duo when fully healthy. So it gives them flexibility. And I think they've really filled that Porzingis gap once they traded him really good with Vucevic. Vucevic is very available, very healthy, excellent rebounder, excellent screener, excellent passer, horrible defender. He is a cone, but I do think that Boston has enough wings, even with the emergence of Jordan Walsh, to really to build around that and to limit the defensive liabilities that he might pose. So that's the first rival that made a trade. The second rival is the Detroit Pistons. No one really thought that Jaden Ivey would be traded for an ancillary piece. Most people thought that Ivey would be one of the cornerstones for a Michael Porter Jr. target or something that would really give them a second on-ball creator where Cade Cunningham can sit and you can run reps through said player. It surprised me today to learn that Ivey was sent out and only for, in terms of player cachet back, Kevin Huerter, who is definitely a better fit than Jaden Ivey around Cade. Now you have both Duncan Robinson and Kevin Huerter, two guys who are elite coming off of curls, coming off of horns and staggered string sets, and coming off of dribble handoffs, a staple of Mike Brown's system when he was in Sacramento, and he employed Kevin Huerter as the main recipient of Sabonis handoffs. They generated the best offense in the league. So listen, Detroit runs a lot of handoffs too, through both Durant or Cade when Cade's played as a screener. This really adds to their shooting flexibility and a better fit than Ivey, who really needs a ball in his hands in order to dominate, even though Ivey is a better, I think, one-on-one player, better downhill. It gives him a kind of a different element offensively, and he's a better defender, I would say, than Kevin Huerter as well, even though he's undersized. At 6'3", Ivey never really lived up to the lottery selection that many Knicks fans, like myself, this is pre-Brunson, were clamoring for him to come and be one of the potential answers at lead guard. My advocacy at the time, I think it was the when KOT was happening, I won a combo of both Brunson as a free agent and Ivey as a draft pick that year in 2022, I believe. And Ivey ended up going to Detroit. And he was never really a part of their serious championship caliber rotation, wasn't healthy during their first round playoff appearance against us. And many Detroit fans said, if we would have had Ivey, we would have beat y'all. Looks like the Detroit organization disagreed with you because they shipped him off unwilling to give him the extension that he was asking for. And now it's up to Chicago to provide that extension while Detroit brings in shooting flexibility and someone who I think Huerter is an underrated defender. Not going to call him a Kirk Heinrich type defensive white boy, but he is someone who can guard in space and guard within a team scheme. So I don't think that really compromises them too much. He's kind of like Duncan Robinson. He's better than he appears, and he has a lot of reps and experience playing team defense, especially playing next to Cade Cunningham. He's going to get a lot of open looks. Before I continue, let's give some shout outs to the chat, man. Still the real AD. Lee, what's up, my man? I had to provide some of the nuance and commentary to this trade that's going on right now because I didn't want KOT to not have a voice here in the ecosystem of what's happening, and I want my KOT family to remain informed. Spree J, agree. Hunter, tough. He's a tough player. He's a dog. Again, Duncan Robinson's also a dog. They kind of look like Saved by the Bell castaway characters, but they're actually both, I would say, above average defenders and elite movement, off curl, off the dribble, motion, catch and shoot shooters, man. I mean, Detroit already number one in the East, going to be a tough out, and I think it's guaranteed. Everything's lined up for a New York-Detroit Eastern Conference Finals rematch from the first round last year. I still have the Knicks in that series. It's the West I'm more worried about. Nostalgic Knick number 7. Salute. Great to see you, brother, here in the chat. Real Mark, I can never pronounce your last name. Did you see JJJ was traded to Utah? I will get to that. That's going to be a major cornerstone of a dialogue here moving forward. Still real AD. I mean, Sacramento is just pathetic. How far they have fallen when they had 3 young point guards, not even 25. They got ancillary pieces, and what else? True, at one time they had Davion Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, and De'Aaron Fox. And then they had Dennis Schroeder, who I thought was a solid stabilizer there. Now they're just left with Russell Westbrook. I mean, Scott Perry, bro. You got some explaining to do. I thought you were going to go in there and tear it down and at least build a framework for a future team. You don't even have the most important position on the floor taken care of. That's an issue. Machine Gun Esco holding it down. Shows what I've been saying forever. Leezus needs his own solo show. KOT Network is growing. I agree with you, brother. It just has to be the right show at the right time that fits within the programming at KOT. And I haven't really figured out what that will be. But one day, guarantee, I will be doing my own thing in some capacity. I'm just not sure what it's going to be yet. We'll see. Dud Fresh, I just want Sadiq Bey. That's all we need. I agree. A big wing, some type of floor spacer who can play multiple positions and guard multiple positions, including the five. In some scenarios, I do think that is what the Knicks need as that final piece. And we're going to get to a couple of those options, a few of them that showed up recently in the trades that transpired today. Gamer Channel, what's good, Lee Escobedo, my boy, Isaiah Ramos, always in the house, always representing for KOT, donating this season. I believe when OG Anunoby scores over 25 points, has 5 rebounds, and shoots over 50% from the field. My main man's been donating $20, and he's done it twice already, which shows OG Anunoby is stepping it up. Robert Paris, my favorite bum, says pass. I'm guessing he's passing, tuning in to the Leah Stabito show. That's okay, man. This is a bum-free zone, so you can see yourself out. Also, we got Gamer Channel saying Detroit just got a whole lot better. I agree. I think fit-wise, they did get better going into the playoffs. This is a floor-raising move. I think they lost a little bit of their ceiling, though. You never knew what Jaden Ivey was going to fully develop into, and he'll get his shot now in Chicago. Think about him landing in Chicago, man. They have playmakers, right? They have their future 1A and Mattis Bazdeas, or how you pronounce it. I think he's going to be an all-star in 2 or 3 seasons. And they have Josh Giddey, who is one of the best playmakers in the entire NBA. So he can kind of just go on ball, off ball, did a little catch and shoot opportunities, go downhill. There can be moments where the offenses ran through him in certain bench minutes. It's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see what happens. That's right, the real AD. Bum free, absolutely. All day, every day, man. We can't have these MAGA bums trying to ruin our day, man. There's too many of them, and they're too damn annoying. All right. Moving on, man. The biggest trade, and the one that I think had the most implications for the Knicks searching both the buyout market and the trade market. You know what? Before I drop this, listen, tell a friend to tell a friend. Lock in, right? Go tell your friends, your family. If they're not watching KOT right now, spread the word. Lee Stabito's holding down the fort, and he's talking trades 2 days before the deadline. All right, we got a big day on Thursday. Knicks are still one of 4 teams that are in negotiations for Giannis Antetokounmpo. We are not out of it completely. Granted, we are number 4th right now from what I've heard in the rankings, both what's been said in the public press, but also what I'm hearing behind the scenes. The Knicks right now are on the outside looking in on potentially acquiring Giannis. And we're talking about some of the implications on that, how I feel about that. Do I think that's a good thing? Should Leon be standing pat? We'll get to that in a little while. But first, I definitely want to remind people that Giannis is not completely out the door. There is a possibility that we could still acquire him, but it looks like that Minnesota and Miami are ahead of a game right now because of their combination of young players and draft picks that could potentially make things happen on the Giannis front. All right. A couple of hours ago, we had the big one. Memphis officially rebuilding, and they should. That team didn't get out of the first round, to my knowledge, at all, under the JJJ, John Morant combination. You know, my main man, Taylor Jenkins, from the same, born and raised in the same city as me here around Dallas and Arlington. He was a Knicks coaching candidate. We went with Mike Brown. He was my preference of who I thought we should hire. He was fired last year, taking the brunt of the responsibility for the Memphis Grizzlies not working out, and particularly John Morant being upset with the very minimal screens and pick and roll action that was happening that really took Ja more off ball and made him a catch and shoot threat. Not even a threat. He was kind of a net negative as well as an off the court madness. So he was fired, which means, you know, what's next? You can only make so many moves until the team has to be blown up. And today it was. Jaren Jackson Jr., 2-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year winner, and maybe the worst rebounder since Amiri Stoudemire as a big man, was traded to the Utah Jazz, who, damn it, in my opinion, they have a top 3 young core now. And they anchored that with a Defensive Player of the Year winner in JJJ. That Filipkowski, Marketing, JJJ trio, that's championship level, in my opinion. Like, for real. That, to me, was what they were missing. I think they have the future of the wings between Keontae George, shout out Dallas, Texas, and Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, to me, is a 1A. The same way that I can kind of forward project and predict guys that are eventually going to slot into that 1A, like Matthias over there in Chicago. I think Ace Bailey is even better than him. Ace Bailey is the real deal. and surrounding him with Jaren Jackson Jr., someone who's not just a Rudy Gobert stiff, but someone who can actually move with the ball, be a passing hub, shoot the occasional three, stretch the defense a little bit. Man, what a 1-2 punch, man, for real. Utah, Danny Ainge really is a devil, man, and everyone's making a deal with him but the Knicks. So that I thought that was a really great trade for them. He's been using those assets that he required in the Gobert and Donovan Mitchell moves to really lay out one of the best rebuilding frameworks we've seen. Really, I think the only thing to compete with that is what Presti did in Thunder 2.0 after acquiring Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is the second best rebuild I've seen in the last 15 years is what Ainge is doing in Utah, because that Gobert Spider duo was never winning a championship, nor was it ever making the finals, in my opinion. Constantly, Donovan choked in the first round, second round. They couldn't get to the Western Conference Finals. It was doomed to be blown up. They made the right move, and now look at them now. They really just need a point guard. Can Isaiah Collier become the true lead guard on that team, or are they going to wait and save some of their cap space or do another trade to bring in that lead guard? They're also looking at possibly a top 8 draft pick in this upcoming draft, and they still have draft capital. They only gave up 3 first-round picks in this deal. They still have the bag to give to someone to bring in eventually that lead guard. Utah, man, there ain't nothing good going on in the state of Utah. Like, beautiful, right? If you're talking about scenic views, incredible. But if you're talking about like Mormon cults, oof. Not a place I would want to live. It's a place I wouldn't mind going vacationing for like an hour or two, right? But not a place that I would want to live. But now they have a basketball team worth rooting for, man. They're the real deal over there. That's the type of rebuild, I think, that a certain subset set of Knicks Twitter always wish the Knicks had done. Full teardown, trade players while they're at the top of their value, send them out, get draft picks and young capital in, draft really well, hire a young coach in Will Hardy that develops and gives the guys real opportunities, learning, taking their reps and their hits in season to then eventually cultivate that into a championship contender once everyone ages in, adding 1 or 2 trades that they've done, like marketing and then now JJJ. A JJJ marketing front court is elite with Filikowski and what's homeboy, the big man off the bench? Kessler? Yo, that is already one of the best front court rotations in the NBA. Now, is anything going to happen out of this playoff round? Hell no, man. They'll probably maybe make the play on, maybe get eliminated because guys are not where they need to be in the pecking order. Ace Bailey will be the first option, but he's not yet. Right now, Markkanen is. And a Markkanen first option team is going to bounce in the play in if they made the play in. But man, the rest of those, you're right. Spree J, 7-footers in the front court, bro. They got like damn near 4 of them. Man, it's tough. And they're not just stiff Sean Bradley, Evan Ishmeyers. They're guys who put the ball on the floor, who can switch off ball screens, who, again, can act as hubs, who can be primary rim defenders, weak side defenders, can implement zone, can implement switching on ball screens. Deadly, bro. That around Ace Bailey, listen, man, I never wanted to give a devil his due, but Danny Ainge, he is absolutely cooking. In Boston, is it any surprise? He built a champion in Boston twice. First with the big 3, Garnett, Allen, Pierce, and then he did it again, building the framework that eventually Brad Stevens would take over with the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown duo. And yeah, agree. Sensabaugh, another great pick over there. They did get rid of Walton Clayton Jr., who was having an incredible season, but you have to give up something for a player of JJJ's caliber. You have to, right? So I'm glad to see the chat agree. Of course, man, we got some smart NBA watchers here on the KOT channel. You know, I mean, these aren't bandwagon fans or people who only watch the Knicks. These are ball knowers. We got a lot of former coach. We got a lot of former people who have played basketball on the high school level, AAU level, college level. Shout out my main man, the Predicate, a great example of young men and also a teacher of a game. I appreciate you, Gamer Channel. I've been watching the NBA for a very long time, and I never just watched the Knicks. I've always watched the entire NBA. Always to some degree had bootleg league pass from like age 18 on. I've always been able to watch the entire NBA. It's one of the gifts that my dad provided growing up. So, all right. Jaren Jackson Jr. is in Utah. Who went to Memphis? Let's look. Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Walter Clayton Jr., and George Nain. Walter Clayton Jr. obviously is going to join Memphis' stable of Gigi Jackson, Coward. Who else did that? Vince Williams. And they have another player I'm forgetting who's like really solid on the perimeter. I can't remember who it is. It's escaping my mind right now. And plus Zach Edey, right? In the post. They still have Zach Edey. I think Walter Clayton Jr. is going to stay. He's not going to be rerouted. He's not going to be moved on. Certainly not going to be bought out. That's the centerpiece that they're going to maintain on this roster. The other three, I think are certainly up for grabs because now they have a log jam at the wing, kind of the small ball rotation players. They got a lot of guys that can play a lot of different positions, but also a lot of guys that could potentially be bought out. So let's talk about them. All right. Before we get into it, tell a friend to tell a friend. Last time we had this trade discussion, we had 700 KOT faithful in the chat. Right now, we got about 500. We appreciate you. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the support, especially me doing this on my own right now, taking some time out of my day. I was the only one on KOT that was able to hop on the pod, and I definitely appreciate it being a full house here in the chat. Bum free today while we're talking NBA trades and Knicks possible targets. I'm going to save a Giannis conversation for last, but let's think about who the Knicks to possibly pick up. All right, first up on my list, I'm going to start with buyout candidates, which are either guys we should not trade for or guys that we cannot trade for. First on my list, old man Mike Conley, 38 years old, on an $11 million contract, went to Chicago in the deal that in the three-team deal that also involved, I believe, Minnesota, Chicago, and I can't remember who the other team was. Anyways, it doesn't matter. At 38 years old, he's averaging 4 points a game, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 32% from the field. Yuck. 32% from the three-point line. Yuck. You're asking why? Veteran leadership, someone who's been in many playoff battles, seen many different kinds of defensive schemes, knows how to input and give his point of view from the player perspective on how to bust the zone or get out of shooting slumps, give guys encouragement when they're suffering from, a trap. Say Brunson's seen a lot of length, a lot of switching, a lot of different coverages. He can give him advice on how to counter that. Someone who's had some great playoff battles against Brunson in those Dallas-Utah series from years back. I would not trade for him under any circumstances. Because of that $11 million, it's damn near impossible for us to even consider it without including a Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart. So that eliminates it right up from the moment I said itch, eliminated. There's no way we're trading for Mike Conley's old ass. But as a buyout candidate, it was immediately signaled that Chicago is looking to move Kobe White and or Mike Conley in trades to reduce their salary. I think Kobe White's up for an extension. He's probably going to be looking somewhere between 18 and 25 million, kind of what that Mikal Bridges deal was before his extension. I think that's about solid market value for him. It's hard to do more when he hasn't impacted winning to that degree. They've been a playoff team, 10 seed for 4 years straight. But Conley, I think, if they end up waiving him, they don't find a buyer for that $11 million deal, which I don't think they will. He would be a nice end of the bench, break glass if needed in the playoffs, where Tyler Kolek is overwhelmed. If the steam for him in a 7-game series, he's completely taken out. You can enter Mike Conley as a corner shooter on catch and shoot opportunities. Someone can table set, find lobs, right? He's had many years experience finding Rudy Gobert in Utah for lobs. Many years experience finding Rudy Gobert in Minnesota for lobs. He's someone who has played with Karl-Anthony Towns. He knows how to engage Karl-Anthony Towns in a two-man game. There's some reasons there. Do you want to bring him in maybe to be the Towns whisperer and keep Towns in dog mode instead of kitty cat mode? It's something to consider, I think. At 38 years old, an $11 million contract, only if bought out, it makes a semblance, I think, of sense, just as someone who I think could be as an insurance policy in case Tyler Kolek is steamed out of the rotation in a certain playoff series. Next. This one is my number one favorite acquisition target. Thank you. I see in the chat, we'd have 15 more people since I said tell a friend, tell a friend. Keep it going, man. Let's get the KOT family in here. We're at the dinner table having a Knicks conversation. I'm going to be engaging with the chat as much as possible, pulling up comments and answering your questions and reading out your criticism of either the job I'm doing or the job Leon Rose is doing on today's trade day. Number one target, dream scenario. Memphis Grizzlies buy out Kyle Anderson, a.k.a. Slow-Mo, a.k.a. 6'8", player who can play the 3, the 4, and the 5 in a pinch. In a pinch, he can play the 5. Maybe the best and cleanest symmetry going from Dursan Yabusele to him. He gives you everything that Yabusele theoretically could give you, but in my opinion, more defense, more consistent defense. I am a defense first person. I look at the team. I look at championship. I watch the NBA. I watch high school ball, college ball, AAU ball, live action, street ball, all through the lens of defense. To me, defense always is superior to offense. And Kyle Anderson is a great defender. Back in Minnesota, when they had Karl-Anthony Towns and they first got Rudy Gobert, pre-Randall and Dante DiVincenzo. Anthony Edwards is more of a young buck, right? It was still kind of, whose team is it, Ant or Cat? Right before they made that Western Conference run, Kyle Anderson was part of every elite off-on number lineup with the 5 best players playing defense for that Timberwolves. Why? Because you can employ him in zone schemes. You can employ him to switch it on ball screens because he can guard a big who can shoot. He can guard and put some length on a small guard. He's someone that can guard in space and defend the rim because of his wingspan. He doesn't have much verticality, doesn't have much athleticism, but he checks the back boxes that Leon Rose looks for when he makes trades. What are those? Can play multiple positions, can help spread the floor, and has playoff experience. He's a veteran. He's a smart, high IQ player. Again, has chemistry, playing with Karl-Anthony Towns in Minnesota, just like Mike Conley. If Memphis is looking to buy him out, he is the number 1 target I think Leon should look to sign because of $9.2 million he's owed this year. Almost $10 million of guaranteed money he's owed next year. Eliminate him from any trade conversations. You have to start combining 3-4 salaries to get him to be there, and then you're not left with anything over to sign the necessary spots to stay in the CBA. So it's a tough. I think there will be suitors on a $9 million deal. Not every team is as cap strapped as the Knicks. There are some teams out there that really want to load up on weapons in this ensuing arms race. There's a higher likely probability, in my opinion, Kyle Anderson is flipped or kept on the team because he has played for Memphis before. He's acclimated by that front office and that team, right? It's possible he could stay. Conley, I think, is for sure bought out. But if Anderson's bought out, we have to go after him. Prezi the boss, Ed Lee, have you heard about Yabusele being offered $7.5 million from Tel Aviv? I have heard that. I have. Don't know what he thinks about that or his agent or the team. And I'm also not adept enough to be totally transparent on knowing, like Fritz would, what that would mean in terms of how does that open up a spot? Does it still count against a cap? Those questions I cannot answer. So we'll see. And yeah, agreed. I mean, he has another $9 million. I doubt he gets bought out. It's possible, right? I think it depends on Kyle Anderson does have a relationship with the Memphis front office. Does he say, listen, man, I'm trying to go to a contender, right? You've seen me. I just spent a year in Utah not winning. I want to go somewhere to win. He leverages that relationship with the front office, and they buy him out. And then he has his choice to come back home in New York, where he's from, to suit up for the orange and blue. He is someone that the Leon Rose front office has checked in on. They checked on him when he was with Utah. They checked in on him when he was with Minnesota, Miami. They've always been interested in slow-mo because, one, they've always shown an interest in New York-born players and having them be on the Knicks. But more importantly, he is that Yabusele. He can play the 3, the 4, and the 5 theoretically. But the playoff experience, the slight shooting, man, he'd be someone. I don't think he would play in the rotation right away, but if after some reps or some injuries and opportunity, I think he could bring his game to that 9-8-man rotation with his current season averages in Utah right now at 7 points a game, 3 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game, 52% from the field right now, 60% from 3. Oh, on 0.3 attempts. See, he's not much of a floor spacer. He's always been someone who I think has been greatly overrated as a stretch big. He's not really a stretch big. He's never shot at volume that really impacts a game or allows for going 5 out, in my opinion, at all. But he's an excellent passer. He has that I heart push shot in the mid-range. He can be someone you depend on for 10, 12 minutes a game. In the playoff time, listen, man, could be interesting. Shout out Julio Vargas, 901 new here. What's up, brother? Hit that like. More importantly, if you like the commentary, I'm only one of like 7 members of a KOT team. We got a personality for everybody. If you're enjoying yourself, you're enjoying the commentary, you're enjoying the chat, don't just give it a like. Hit a subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. We're here after every single post game. Some combination. The main man, the CEO, boss man, my brother Jay Ellis, the head of a snake. You got me. You got Ryan G. You got Phil Porto. You got Fritz Alessander. You got Be the Motivator. You got Ebony. You got a personality for everyone. All of us know ball. All of us bring a unique perspective and point of view to the show. So if you enjoy yourself, please, anybody out there, not just Julio Vargas, if anyone's enjoying the show, please subscribe and help out a great Black American entrepreneurial spirit here at KOT, and then myself, the Latin Assassin, Phil Porto, Latin Assassin. We bring that Latino heat to it as well. And we're all here, man. We're all brothers in arms. We all care deeply about the Knicks, but we try to also bring logical, sound analysis. Sometimes we debate. Sometimes it is hella heated. Y'all seen it. Me and JS, we do edit. Me and B, sometimes we do edit. Me and Ryan, I don't think me and Ryan have ever debated, but that's not the point. Ryan has too many debates for me to ever debate him. Julio also adds, I think Minnesota gets Giannis after getting that first-round pick and getting rid of Conley's contract 100%, man. I agree with you 100%. I also agree. I think Minnesota is in the lead right now to acquire him. I think Giannis wants to prepare himself for the guard. It's not possible in Miami unless Miami ropes in Ja, and Ja is not Ant. Ja, to me, does not impact winning. He wants to go somewhere where the guys that are currently on the roster impact winning. Rudy Gobert, like him or not, he impacts winning. Dante DiVincenzo impacts winning. Jay McDaniels impacts winning. Anthony Edwards absolutely impacts winning. He's also having the best season of his career. He's probably the best shooter in the NBA right now. No offense to Steph Curry. I'm talking about right now, not career. Listen, man, he goes there for the Randall contract, some picks, Rob Dillingham. Probably McDaniels goes in that deal too. Bro, scary hours. I think that team can beat OKC in a 7-game series. That team can beat Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series. That team can beat the San Antonio Spurs in a 7-game series. Not only do I think they can beat them, I think Minnesota would be favored in all 3 of those series with Giannis and Ant-Man together. Woo, man. We talking about some serious basketball being played. Appreciate you, Black Neto, man. Always good to see you in the chat, brother. Always appreciate the what's up. I hope you're doing good, man. President Boss. Need that Latin Assassin show. Yo, man, President Boss, no one's been gassing me up for that solo show more than you, brother. So I dedicate this. Let's go to you, my man. Thank you always for the support, man. I appreciate you so much. Sherwin, another OG, a legend in the KOT chat, the Dope Soul Sports chat. I see him everywhere. Good afternoon. Who is a Knicks trade target? I haven't gotten the trade targets yet, but I have mentioned 2 buyout candidates so far. Number 1, Mike Conley, who was just traded to Chicago Bulls. He's owed $11 million. And then Kyle Anderson, who has 2 years left on his deal, including this year at $9 million. I think he's a long shot for a buyout candidate and no shot for a trade candidate because it would take too many salaries to aggregate to go get him. But man, bro, if we can get him on a buyout, to me, I don't see any need for like even superstar conversation trades. Like to me, that's enough to win a chip. That Yabusele role was so essential, in my opinion. We needed that extra wing off the bench that could play the 4 and play the 5. To be small ball, someone who can attack a closeout, like we saw Yabu do in Philly last year, who can do a little bit of on ball and pick and roll as the ball handler, not just the roller. I thought Yabu was going to do that. Kyle Anderson can do that, though. Kyle Anderson has a better handle than Yabu. Kyle Anderson has a better mid-range game than Yabu. Kyle Anderson's a better fit than Yabu. He's a way better defensive player than Yabu. Anyway, we can flip bridges for John Moran. G-size 83. Not sure if I've ever seen the chat before, but welcome, homie. Take a seat. Crack open a cold one. Spark up a hot one. Hit a like. Subscribe. We're here talking Knicks trades, rumors, possible buyout candidates. Not just today. Every post game, we break down, and we don't just give you hot takes. We do give you some hot takes. We give you very passionate analysis. But most importantly, everyone you see on the post game can give you X's and O's breakdown. The stuff that ESPN refuses to do, KOT always does. No Chipotle order breakdowns here. We're talking about basketball steams On the offensive, defensive side, sometimes we're just so in the weeds on it, we argue about schematic employment. Me and Jay Ellis have some of our most iconic clash of a Titan battles on Steam's X and O's battles. Last game's pod. I thought we had one of our best two-man weeds. We actually agreed more than we disagreed. That was one of our best, I think, X and O's analysis. We're going to give it to you again tonight when we play Washington. We'll be breaking down the game all day. Where's Ebony? Great question, Flatbush Dre. We all miss her. She's dealing with some personal stuff, some family stuff. This is like this podcast exists not in a vacuum, but in real life. Like, look outside your window, the world is burning, right? With this current administration, the current ICE, everything that's happening in the American landscape. Scary times out here, but also this personal stuff that happens too, right? Our family members, our loved ones, they go through things. So it's not always possible for all of us to be here at one time, but that's why we have an Avengers team, to where we always have a couple of people who can step up and help out others, who have to take a back seat to keep giving you guys that type of analysis that I think is desperately needed in this landscape, this media landscape that is slowly deteriorating and giving way to hot takes and AI, man. It's scary hours out here, all right? But yeah, that's where she's at. She's taking care of her own personal business. I agree with you, Black Neto. All the best to Ebony. Ebony is the smartest basketball mind that I have ever encountered in my personal life. I'm not saying that she's Greg Popovich or Larry Brown, but what she has taught me more about X's and O's than anyone. And the most important thing she taught me is that when you talk about X's and O's, you do it in an accessible way to where anyone can have an access point to learning and growing along with you. You don't want to talk over people. You want to talk to people. And Ebony, more than anyone else in my life, has taught me how to do that to a degree to where I feel like I'm now able to share some of my knowledge to the rest of the chat and to my panel member, my co-panel members, to increase all of our knowledge of the game. You could get Drew Holiday for Bridges. John Morant is not a fit. I think he needs to be on the ball too much. I'm perfectly fine with Jalen Brunson being more off ball, right? I did him into some catch and shoot opportunities. We've been using him. My Browns have been using him as a strainer a lot in this 6-game win streak, but I don't think John Morant is a good fit. John Morant's not a shooter. He is a playmaker. He's actually a better playmaker, in my opinion, than Jalen Brunson in terms of making plays for others. I think Brunson's better at making plays for himself, but Ja is definitely a better passer and a better, I think, pick and roll player than Jalen Brunson is too. But man, that's not what we need. We need guys who can step up next to Brunson, not go back and forth Luka Doncic, Brunson style, and try to make both of them stars at the same time. I don't think John Morant's game, or more importantly, man, his mentality fits what the Knicks are trying to build. Drew Holiday for Bridges on this podcast, man, I've been 100% against it. That straight up trade as a additional caveat to getting Giannis, right? Well, we give Bridges and we get some of those butts picks that Portland owns from the Damian Lillard trade. Of course, man, you do that all day. But just a 1-for-1, man. I mean, Drew Holiday's at 36. Last time we played him in that game a couple of days ago, he looked absolutely washed. Brunson was hunting him and cooking him. Without Giannis as a backline defense, I don't like the idea of adding Drew Holiday, especially not for Mikal Bridges. I just can't do it. Knicks buyers, I think so. Yeah, I think that's bid buyers, like bid spenders. No, because we don't have a capacity to. Outside of Giannis, we really don't even have a capacity for Giannis. Right? Giannis really, I think, is outside of our pay grade. I don't think we can afford Giannis because we don't have the two things they're asking for. Blue chip young talent. Sorry, Colwood lovers. Colwood Karens out there, no offense. Colwood is not on the same level as Kalair Ware. He's not. So the blue chip young talent or Jaime Jaquez, way better than Colwood. Both those players are a type of blue chip talent, or a Jonathan Kuminga that Milwaukee is looking for, and draft capital. We have no draft pick we can trade. We can only trade swaps and the Wizards pick, which is not guaranteed to even be a first-round pick. So to me, we're fourth. We are fourth in the rankings in terms of who has the best odds to land Giannis. Holiday for Bridges is a sick in the head trade, said Sherwin. I mostly agree with you when it's isolated, just that. But if it means we have to do that to get Giannis, I'm all in. I'm all in, man. Knicks need backup point guard or center. I think Kolek deserves a shot. to be the backup point guard. I think it's better to maintain continuity and embrace his upside, even though I'm not a Colwood Karen, but I do believe in him as a table setter and a playmaker. I do think there will be a playoff series, or God forbid, knock on wood, playoff series where he is completely steamed off the floor. That's very possible. Just depends on like who we match up with in the East, right? Like Eris Spoelstra is capable of doing that. Rick Carlisle is capable of doing that. But those aren't two teams you're probably going to see in the ECF. Is JB Bickerstaff capable of doing that? Not convinced yet. In all honesty, I'm not. Missoula can do that. We might face him in the ECF. So Colwood, to me, I think it's worth betting on him. And if it doesn't happen, now Mikal Bridges has to step up and be your backup playmaker. Flatbush, Tyler the Creator, you have to hope so, right? And I agree. He's gotten 100% better in 2 years. I agree with that too. I think he deserves a chance to go into the playoffs as the backup playmaker. And it's funny, he might not even be in the rotation once Deuce gets back. I'm not Mike Brown. I would expand that rotation to 9, and I would have Tyler Colwood playing 12 to 15 minutes as a backup playmaker, no longer paired with Jordan Clarkson, which was a horrible pairing, the backcourt with him and Clarkson, but him and Deuce or him and Shamet, hell, him and Brunson, I'm okay with it. Brunson's been playing some of the best defense of his this season in this last 6-game win streak too. Kudos to Brunson and kudos to Cat for putting on their big boy pants and actually playing some damn defense, because we wouldn't be on this win streak unless those two completely buy in, shut their ass up, and play some defense. Still the real AD. Why would we want to take another look at another team's backup when we have Colwood? Agreed, brother. I'm with you, man. 100%. Black Neto, how do you like trading for Marshall from the Navs? You know, it's funny. In terms of like into the bench, or I shouldn't say into the bench, in terms of into the rotation players, Najee Marshall interests me even more than Kyle Anderson, but I don't think first of all, he's definitely not being bought out. He has an incredible amount of suitors here. I'm based in Dallas. I'm a Knicks fan, first generation here in Texas. My dad was raised in New York. He had me here, and I've been raised a Knicks fan here cheering with my pops, who's from Long Island. But I'm also pretty connected. Almost every Mavs reporter I know but two. Like I don't necessarily get good friends with them, but I follow them, and I can talk to them if I want to and ask them a question, and they're relatively willing to answer it. Marshall is probably going to go for a first-round pick. Not a lottery one, but at least somewhere in the teens. The Knicks don't have that. The Knicks are not going to have a teens era pick, right? They don't have someone in the late 20s, and they don't even have their own to trade. So I don't think Marshall is gettable. He makes around $9 million, which means you have to do a 3-for-1, which means you don't have enough money after doing that trade to fill those last 2 spots under the CBA. So I don't think he's even a possibility, in my opinion, unless you're trading Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson. That's a hell no. I think you would agree with that. Kevin Zwinter, 96, my guy. That's one of my top 3 homies on Twitter, man. What's up, brother? I hope you're doing well. I hope peace and blessings are upon you. Double blessings to you and your family. And I hope you and yours are doing well. He sends a 199 super chat. Much love, brother. Appreciate the support. Every penny helps in us paying our bills. You know, StreamYard is not free. Everything goes into the lights and the cameras. All of us have gotten blow-ups in the last year. Thanks to y'all. The donations that you guys give to a small business like us, who, if you weren't helping us out, we would all be paying out of our pocket to help Jay Ellis keep the lights on. None of us get paid for this. We do this out of labor of love, because we don't just love the Knicks. We love giving our fan base, our fellow colleagues, our fellow friends, high IQ, high quality content to cover this team in ways that mainstream media refuses to and other podcasts are unable to. So we appreciate you. Kevin, Lee, did we blow our war chest on Cat and Mikal? This is a tough conversation. Didn't plan on getting to this here. Something I think I want to get into when I have more of a team, so we can have some varying opinions and a little bit of back and forth. I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns was a misuse or the wrong move with our assets, because that was Randall and Devo. To me, those are not like high value assets. But Mikal Bridges, I think, was an overpay. I think it's very fair to say that. Is Mikal Bridges capable of being worth those 5 picks? Yes. Fully worth them? Unlikely. But I think by the end of his career, if we win a championship, no one will ever remember the 5 picks nor care about the 5 picks. But to this very second, right now, from the moment he got here to now, Has he played up to those 5 pits? Absolutely not. Hell no, he has not. And he's had some brilliant moments in the playoffs, brilliant moments in the regular season. Right now, I would say it's between him and OG, who I think the best player is. I think I would give a slight nod to OG. And I might actually have him Bridges third. Cat has kind of been more, Cat's more of like an anchor right now. And during this win streak, the shot's been off and he hasn't been aggressive. Mikal, though, man, is he worth 5 pits? Hell no. But you also have to admit that was a Nets tax, because anytime you don't do that type of crosstown rival trade, you don't pay more than anybody else. That's just the way that it is. It's like when the Clippers would do business with the Lakers, or the Spurs would do business with the Mavericks, you don't pay more than anybody else because there's that heated rivalry there. You don't want to help out, right, your mortal enemy. So time will tell if the Mikal Bridges trade ruined our championship chances. I like to think no, but I will say this as a final note, because you paid $1.99. I want to give you my full thoughts as much as I can. I do think that Leon Rose's tenure as the Knicks president of basketball operations, the thing he will be most judged for is a Mikal Bridges trade, because that is playing a huge role in our ability to get Giannis. And if we had not traded for Bridges and we would have stayed pat, I think that Giannis would be in New York already this past summer. BW 1728 Lee, if we don't end up with one of the following 3 players at the deadline, we are in trouble. Najee Marshall, Tari Eason, Sadiq Bey. Najee Marshall is not possible under the CBA financial salary cap. I've seen no speculation that Tari Eason will be moved before the deadline. I don't think he's available. I think he'll be available in the summer if Van Vliet proves that he can no longer be the starting point guard. I think Tari Eason will be included in the trade then, but not now. And Sadiq Bey is a target. I think Sadiq Bey is realistic. Is he the right move? I don't know. I like some other pieces more than that one. I would not be upset with Sadiq Bey. I think Sadiq Bey would be a solid get for us. Interested to see what it would take, because the guys that we want to trade apparently have absolutely no value, like Yabusele and Pacome Dadier. Holy hell, man. That's why I gave Leon Rose an F for this past offseason. What an awful offseason. The only bright spot was Diawara. Even Jordan Clarkson was a total dud. Rafi Damian, 5241. Do you go live during the deadline? Absolutely. I will be going live Thursday on the deadline, and I will be going live tomorrow if the Knicks make a deal. Any type of deal, I will be going live tomorrow, but I would certainly go live during and after the deadline, doing some live commentary, live standing Twitter, talking about rumors. 100%. I will. I hope to see you there. Randu, those 5 pits that we gave up for Bridges, those could have been used for getting Giannis or Never. I agree, which is why I think Leon Rose, ultimately, his legacy in New York will come down majority to that move. I think that move and the Brunson move. Brunson as a positive marker for him, like finding Brunson, knowing what he could be, getting him for the cheap, having him sign his cheap extension, that whole nepotism will absolutely work in his favor for his legacy. But the Mikal Bridges, I think, is absolutely the most consequential trade. And as of right now, I would say the Knicks lost that trade as of right now. Doesn't mean Bridges hasn't brought value or that Bridges hasn't been excellent in some ways, especially this recent run. But is he worth 5 pits? Absolutely not. Like, hell no, he's not. Until we have used those pits for better players, hell yes. But listen, man, I am not I don't cap for anyone. My opinions are my own. I have no loyalty to anyone but myself, God, and the Knicks. And that doesn't mean any player or the owner of a coach, but the team, right? I'm going to criticize everyone, and I have criticized everyone from James Dolan to Jalen Brunson to Yabu BBSLE. I don't care who it is. I will criticize my own teammates on KOT, because to me, the marketplace of ideas is the best place to find out what's right and what's wrong. Salute. JT Reddick, another OG, baby. One of my dogs in the chat holding it down, man. Another dog, Benji Kleiner. What's up, brother, man? Great to see you, man. He says, I want at least one of the following: Bay, Alvarado, Missy, Sohan. Benji, you just named 4 guys that are all not only all 4 gettable, but are all 4 targets that Leon Rose has 100%, not 99, 100% checked in on in the last week. So I think that there's a likelihood of a trade, not a buyout, but a trade. it's going to be for one of these four guys. And from what Ian has reported, Alvarado is probably at the top of the list right now, followed right after Yes Missy. I think Sohan is probably the most unlikely of the four. And to me, anytime a championship contender says a player's available, if you can't fit into a contending team like the Spurs, that's a massive, massive red flag, in my opinion. So I'm just going to say, like, I agree with you. I don't want no. I think the major, unless it's a Giannis or Kawhi, no major moves for me too. I only want to get someone that is either won a championship already as a first option, or makes us better defensively. Those are the type of guys that I'm targeting right now. All right, 642 in the chat. Let's go! Y'all coming in strong, repping deep. I love it, man. I love it. Also, people have been asking me, who is that in the background? That is my favorite poet, musician, Patti Smith, a purveyor of the punk rock, post-punk era of the 70s, and also a brilliant poet. She has a new book of poetry out, and a book of photographs out recently that I picked up. She's like one of the most badass American musicians of all time. And then this is a canvas piece of another one of my favorite poets named Anne Carson, who wrote one of my favorite books named The Autobiography of Red. So that's not my grandma, and that's not some model. They're actually two poets, because I am also a poet, and I love poetry, and I love the history of poetry as well. So that's the answer to questions I've gotten in my DMs and text messages. Who the hell are the women behind you? Is that your grandma? No, they're actually just two writers that I had deep respect for, because if you don't know, number one thing that I am is not a content creator. I am a writer. I write political essays, the intersection of politics and sports, for The Guardian, which I'm very blessed to do. This is my fourth year doing it. I also cover the NBA and the WNBA for Bleacher Report. I have a new article on Bad Bunny. 10 things to know about Bad Bunny before his Super Bowl halftime performance, where I was able to write about my love for him as one of my favorite current musicians. That came out with Bleacher Report this morning. More to come. Let's talk about trades. All right. So we've discussed the ones that, like, agreed. Shout out JT Red. Let's keep the chat clean, man. It's not necessarily a family show, but let's no need to be disrespectful unless it's absolutely necessary. And I don't think this is absolutely necessary. Talking about trades and free agency. We've talked about a lot of trades, right? The Saddiq Bey, Yes Missy, Jose Alvarado, Jeremy Sohan. That has been regurgitated on Knicks Twitter for weeks now, right? We've all heard and discussed and thought about those on our own or with friends or in a group chat. Let's talk about a few that opened up today, right? That became available today. They weren't available tomorrow. Why weren't they available? I mean, they weren't available yesterday. But let's ask the question. Why weren't these trades available or possible yesterday? Because these players were under the control of the devil, Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge. Mephisto, right? I mean, Beelzebub. However you want to, whatever word you want to use to describe him, that's an arch nemesis for Knicks fans, not just because he was a Boston Celtic player, not just because he was a Boston Celtic exec, but because he really wanted to fleece Leon Rose in the Donovan Mitchell negotiations. That ultimately, Leon Rose was not willing to cross the line in the sand to get him, to get Donovan, and Donovan went to Cleveland. And there was obviously some acrimonious issues there when they were negotiating, because there's a weird fallout from Leon re-signing RJ Barrett, and then that immediately signaled Utah making a deal with Cleveland. Like, that pissed off Danny Ainge. So, I obviously bygones are not bygones between Leon Rose and Danny Ainge, right? So I think it's fair to say that there's not going to be any deals happening anytime soon. Walker Kessler, another one. Anytime Leon cheated on Walker Kessler in the last 2 years, he's walked away without even a negotiation or a trade proposal being sent forth, because Ainge is just always asking for way too much. Like, right, 3 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks. But come on, man. Like, bro, what the hell, man? So now that these players are no longer in Utah, they become available. Where was Kyle Anderson 2 hours ago in Utah? Which is why I've never gotten on this channel or on Twitter and talked about Kyle Anderson, because I was like, he's under Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge don't want 2 first-round picks for Kyle Anderson. Hell no. But now that he's in Memphis, there's a possibility, I think, for a buyout. There's 2 other players that went from Utah to Memphis that I'm very interested in, that are actual trade targets. Some better trade targets than the 4 that my main man, Benji Kleiner, proposed. Now, let's talk about who they are. First one, Taylor Hendricks. 5 points a game, 3 rebounds, 45% from the field, 34% from 3. 6'9", 22 years old. Recent, I believe, lottery pick for the Utah Jazz about 3 seasons ago. He's owed $6 million this season, $8 million, around $8 million next season. This is a trade that I would 100% be in. I feel like Memphis has 9 guys that fit this player profile. Hendricks is an elite athlete. I was at the Dallas Maverick game last year when they played the Utah Jazz, and Taylor Hendricks injured his leg. It was one of the most nastiest injuries I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, man, he might not actually ever bounce back from that. Oh, he's bounced back. He's become just as good of a defender as he was pre-injury. And a 6'9" guy who can play the 4 and the 5, who's athletic, who can rebound. He checks every box, but the most important one for Leon Rose. And you cannot talk about Taylor Hendricks without acknowledging this. He has 0 playoff experience, right? If you're Leon and you're thinking, do I consolidate assets, second-round picks, a swap that potentially keep me out of the Giannis sweepstakes in the summer, or Kawhi sweepstakes in the summer, or any other player who could possibly become available in the summer, is it worth risking a few of those assets to bring in someone with no playoff experience that might be as ready as Muhammad Diawara, who we have on the bench? There's some overlap there as well. I would say Diawara has more refined guard skills than Taylor Hendricks, but Taylor Hendricks has more refined big skills, which I think right now is what we need more from that position. But 22 years old, there's a ceiling. 34% from 3. I mean, I think that shot can probably get to 38% by next season with more reps and better spacing, right? So there's some interesting Taylor Hendricks is someone I would definitely be interested in because the salary of the season is only $6 million. So you could take Yabu, right? Hypothetically. You don't want to trade Colwick because you're not getting a guard back. But the Yabu Clarkson or Yabu Pacome, you could take that terrible player package and have to add some second-round picks, maybe 4, 5, or a swap. Again, that's where you get into that very difficult crossroads question. Do you trade assets that could eventually be moved in a Giannis-type deal, whether it be Giannis or a player of Giannis or slightly lower caliber, or do you do it for a peripheral upgrade for someone like Taylor Hendricks that has long-term potential, that has upside, right? It's interesting. But I think it's something to consider now that Hendricks is no longer in Utah. And I think Hendricks is probably the second best player that Memphis got back for Jaren Jackson Jr. Walter Clayton Jr. is on a tear. Dog. Bona fide bucket. But Taylor Hendricks is solid. I think a lot of contenders are going to reach out to Memphis to possibly have him rerouted to their team and will be offering pick packages that I don't think a first round, maybe a late. I think it's going to be more of a swap, a future swap, or a batch of second round picks. But he is someone I would definitely be interested in, Taylor Hendricks. Second, I like this one for different reasons. George Nain, Quentin Grimes' arch nemesis, right? George Nain, 7 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 1 assist, 45% from the field. Pretty good. 40% from 3. He's 6'6". He can play the 3, the 4, the 5. He's owed $8 million this season. Again, Yabusele, actually 8.2 to be precise. Yabusele, Pacome Dadier package again. Dane has way less upside, way less market value than Taylor Hendricks. Dane is someone he's kind of been a part of salary filler for 3 years now, going from one team to another, right? Atlanta, he was on. Philadelphia, he was on. Now he was in Utah. He is someone who I think is not a player that Memphis could even buy out, in my opinion. It's very possible because this is his last year. Very well could be bought out. And if he's bought out, so buyout candidates, Kyle Anderson, number 1, George Nain right below him, Mike Conley even lower at number 3. But I would love Nain on a buyout opportunity. Oh, man. He's playoff proven. Again, he checks every box, plays multiple positions, can play defense. You can employ him in a zone scheme. You can have him switching maybe 1 through 4 on the perimeter. 6'6", good wingspan, solid three-point shooter as well, right? To have another Shamet. I wouldn't say he's as good as Shamet as an all-around player or even a defender, but Shamet light off the bench, the same way that we broke glass and put in Alec Burks when we need him in Indiana. I think Dane could do a little bit of that for us, more on the defensive side and 3-point side. Albert's definitely the better ball handler and store, but Dane, I liked him as a vet piece. And what I love the most, he's a dog. Not afraid to get in someone's face. Not afraid to wag a finger or throw a fist. Not afraid to get in someone's grill and taught some. I like that. We need that. We got too many Boy Scouts on this team. Too many nice guys. Again, that's why I love a KOT squad, man. We have the right mix of personalities that make things happen. You cannot win a championship with nothing but Lees, right? I'm an asshole. You can't. You can't have a bunch of assholes. You have a Trailblazers. You're not going to win a chip. You can't have too many nice guys either, right? You have to have a mixture of personalities that complement each other, right? But also balance each other out. Sometimes when an asshole is being too assholish, you need a nice guy to come in and soften the flames. Some guys, when a nice guy is being a punching bag, you need an asshole to come in and throw a punch. To me, George Dane would be that guy. I like that. I thought Yabusele was going to be that guy, but I think, the reputation for the French, man. No one from France is known as an absolute like ass kicking gangster, man. Like this ain't. I mean, just think about it, bro. We need someone like George Dane, I think, to come in and just be an absolute dog for us. Someone who's just not afraid to have that enforcer mentality that we're desperately missing. And it wouldn't be a PJ Tucker at the far end of the bench, right? Who's never going to see playing time. Like PJ Tucker would have to get up in his street clothes and come on the court in order to confront someone. Dane would actually be playing. He would actually be on the court to be able to come in and be an enforcer. That's the type of guy that we need, and that's the type of guy that we should go after, whether it's through a buyout candidacy, which would be primo, right? That's a best case scenario, or a trade, because that's $8.2 million salary. Hypothetically, theoretically, could be satisfied combining Yabu and Clarkson or Yabu and Pacome, and then maybe 1 or 2 second-round picks. I think that's market value for George Dane. So to me, when I'm thinking about like what would be outgoing, Saddiq Bey's price tag is going to be fairly high. Like Saddiq Bey is going to be someone that multiple teams are going to be actively pursuing to add to their bench. I think Detroit should go after him too. Like I don't want that to happen, but I think they should. They need another guy who can go on ball and average 14, 15 for him. That's not Tobias Harris, my ass, right? They need that other guy, and they don't have it right now. But I think George Dane, man, if we can, bro, that's an interesting piece that I think balances out our roster and gives us the type of bite that we need at the end of the bench. Someone who I think would actually play and be in the rotation, because Boston got better, adding Vucevic. Pistons got better, adding Herter. Like, I think both those teams, those are playoff moves, not necessarily regular season moves. Those are moves to the playoffs. Those two moves address needs. Detroit needed more shooting. They got it. Boston needed more floor spacing and someone to run the offense through. They got it. And neither team gave up a whole lot to get that. So I would be disappointed if Leon Rose goes through this trade deadline doing nothing. I think standing pat is not an answer. In fact, I would go as further and say it's unacceptable. I think he has to do something. I don't think it has to be a dump. Like, I don't think it has to be simply cutting ties or waiving or buying out Clarkson or Yabu just to have them off the team. I don't think that's what it is. We actually have to add someone of value to our squad. And it needs to be someone who is not just an end-of-the-bench body. It needs to be somebody who can be a rotational piece in the playoffs that gives you one of 3 things, hopefully all 3. Shooting, dog mentality. You know what the third one is. Defense. As my main man, Raw Hebrew, says, no defense, no bueno. So the guys I'm mentioning are all through that lens about defense, dog mentality, and the ability to space the floor and put up a 3 every now and then when given the opportunity. And this offense, this wheel offense that Mike Brown is running, we're seeing an increased commitment to cutting, to relocation shooting, to screen setting and off-ball action happening on the weak side, meaning when Brunson's on the right side in a pick and roll with Hart or a pick and roll with Deuce, the weak side, which is where the ball is not, right? The other side of the court, the empty side actions, that's where Cat is doing the ball strain for Bridges, or Bridges and Anunoby are cutting baseline. We're seeing an increased action, increased movement there, which slid off during that horrible losing streak. It's got stagnant. Brunson went ISO, right? Guys were chucking. We're seeing a renewed commitment, which means Why are we seeing Landry Shamet suddenly post 20 points per game or 25 points a game? Because the wheel offense is allocating for it. He's getting wide open looks because of Cat's playmaking, because of Brunson's gravity, because of OG, Hart, Bridges cutting baseline. It makes the defense bend to their gravity, which then opens up who? The fifth worst player on the court, which, and on our team, typically is probably Landry Shamet when he's in those minutes. Even Mitchell Robinson, Jay Ellis has talked about this. Even Mitchell Robinson's lob and offensive rebounding presence also gives you a mini 5-out spacing ability because you have to stay on him. Otherwise, you have the offensive putback. He's going to dunk it, or his elite passing is going to find an open three for splash. So even Mitch is starting to help the shell be in place for this wheel to spin and guys like Landry Shamet to eat. And that would also extend to a George Nain or a Kyle Anderson or Mike Conley and catch and shoot opportunities. You'd add, move the ball and find the high percentage shot, right? So this is why I think these options would work and why I put a lot of thought into who these guys would be based on availability. Maybe they get waived because they're no longer in Utah and now they're in Memphis. It's a very interesting narrative to think about. Ivor Edwards, 8690. Haven't seen you before, but you might have been here. Salute, brother. Good to see you here. Would you trade Bridges for 3 first-round picks in a combo for Giannis? Hell yes. 100% yeah. Yeah. I think we would be lucky to get 3 first-round picks for Bridges, which take that as you want, right? What does that mean? Is that a criticism of Leon? Yeah, it is. It's not Bridges' fault, what he was traded for. It's Leon's responsibility. Leon is accountable for what he gave up, not Bridges. You can't judge Bridges on that, right? You can judge his output on that, but not him as a man or him as a player. It's not his fault. He was traded here. He didn't make the trade himself. But if we got 3 first-round picks for him, that would be enough to satisfy the Giannis trade, 100%. Yeah, we'll do that in an instant. Absolutely. Now, let's talk about Giannis, man. I'm going to close this out after this Giannis conversation. You have more questions, feel free to drop in the chat. I've been doing my best to try to answer everyone's questions, whether you donate money or not. We appreciate the donations. Again, those donations go straight to helping paying for StreamYard subscriptions, premium subscriptions, everyone's lighting and background. You know, like Ryan has gotten a glow up lately. If you notice, he's got unbelievable lighting in his background, thanks to Phil, giving him some mentorship. We're getting backgrounds for Ebony. We're making sure that B's camera's right. So yeah, man, we appreciate the super chats. They help. They go a long way. Really, truly, they really do. And I'm thankful from the bottom of my heart. Kareem Grant, man, salute, brother. It's always good to see an OG in the chat holding down the fort. Still the real AD. Hell yes, I made that Bridges trade. I think every Knicks fan would make. I think most, at least. I don't want to speak for everybody. I think most Knicks fans would trade Bridges for 3 picks if it meant those 3 picks get you Giannis plus filler, right? Plus a Cat or someone. Yeah, got to, man. Giannis is the real deal. Now, concerning Giannis, everything I'm hearing. Oh, also want to shout out Randy, who says he would also make that trade. Yeah, logical Knicks fans in the house, right? It just made sense. Facts over feelings. I'm sorry, bro. When it comes to Giannis, I don't think Giannis is coming to New York. I was hopeful. I was probably the person on the panel that was the most passionate and intense about Leon going and getting Giannis because I made some claims. I said, first of all, Giannis is better than Brunson, 100%. He is a better player right now, yesterday, tomorrow than Brunson. Giannis has won a championship already as the first option with no other superstar around him, right? Barely even an all-star. Drew Holiday's all-star days were in New Orleans, not Milwaukee. Middleton, not an all-star level player. You don't get that guy. Giannis would be the greatest Knick of all time the moment he comes to MSG. No, I take that back. Let me rephrase that, right? Clyde and Ewing are greater Knicks, but Giannis would be the most talented player to ever wear a Knicks uniform. And I would have no doubt that Giannis and Brunson could win more than 1 chip. So when I saw the possibility, I'm like, Leon, this is the trade that you go all in for, right? Not Carmelo all in, where you just completely destroy your asset cachet and you don't have any players that surround Brunson and you trade OG and Hard and Cat. I'm not advocating for that. But I think you detach yourself from what you think about Kolek or what you think about Diawara or what you think about Deuce McBride And you have to include those guys in order to get a deal done, right? You want to keep your core 7 intact for the most part and only give up 2, at the most 3. The 3 guys I always had in my mind for Giannis were Deuce, Bridges, and Cat. And of those 3, Deuce is the only one that I would say I really love. I'm not a huge Bridges fan. I think Cat has to go personally in order for us to win a chip because of his defense. I don't believe in his defense at the 5, and he plays a 5. You pair that with Brunson, ass, right? We're currently not a top 10 defense. We've been top 10 defense this season once already. I think we will crack it again, but we have to end the season as a top 10 defense to really be that long term, right? No one here is talking about short term sample sizes. 6 games don't tell you jack shit. All right. I need an 82 game sample size to tell me if this team is a top 10 defense. And I don't believe it is, nor can it be, with Brunson at the 1 and Cat at the 5. Giannis changes all of that. Giannis makes us an elite defensive unit. Giannis can play small. You can close games at Giannis at the 5 and pair him with OG at the 4. That's championship basketball. That's championship defense. But I have to admit right now, looking at the landscape, reading the tea leaves, practicing inference, like my main man Papa Left says, it's real. We are 4th place right now because we don't have the 2 things that Milwaukee has verbally said they're looking for. Blue chip young talent, we do not have. And a draft cachet, we do not have. We don't have a single first-round pick right now to trade, except for the Wizards one, which isn't even a guaranteed first-round pick. So, I mean, let's be honest. We're probably not getting Giannis if he's traded at the deadline. If this extends into the summer, I think we have a shot because then, as Fritz has always said, we have 2 first-round picks that become available. We also know the outcome of that Wizards pick. That could then be, hypothetically, best case scenario, 3 first-round picks. So it's something to think about. I don't think Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee past the deadline. I think this deal happens at the deadline, and I think he goes to Minnesota. The worst case scenario is he goes to Miami. Not necessarily because this happened to us before, 2010, summer of LeBron, taking my talents to South Beach, gets cleared. Donnie Walsh cleared the shelf of all assets, got fleeced in multiple trades. All of a sudden we had Katino Mobley's bum ass who never even suited up for us. We trade Zach Randolph for him. I was like, what the hell is going on? Awful roster. I mean, T-Mac came in that deal in another deal at that time. Awful. And we lost to Miami. LeBron went to Miami. He won 2 rings. Not just 2. He won his first ring. Knicks fans wanted that to be in New York. Dolan wanted that to be in New York, right? It didn't happen. This would be the tipping time now. There's been some negotiations, opportunities for both the Knicks and the Heat to get a superstar player, a top 3 player in NBA. It's possible we might lose out to Miami, but that's not what makes it the worst, in my opinion. What makes it the worst is we would have to have a referendum on our team. If we lose out to Miami, it's less about Miami getting him and more about why couldn't the Knicks get him? And the answer to that is because there's 5 picks that went out for Mikal Bridges. Now we have to have a conversation was it worth it? If Minnesota gets him, as Yah, Law, and Prophet says, I'll laugh. The Wolves trade Randall and Dante and pitch for Greek. Agreed. How did Julius Randle become a better trade candidate than Karl-Anthony Towns? These are questions I think that would need to be put in place. It would need to be a healthy referendum on Leon Rhodes and the job that he's done so far. Because to me, the moves that he has made since OG Anunoby trade have been very suspect. I think from the moment that he came on board as president of basketball operations to OG, I would give him a grade of an A. From OG to now, I would give him a grade of a D, maybe at best a C minus. The Mikal Bridges trade, I think, we did not win that trade, in my opinion. I'm not going to say it was a fleece. I'm not going to say that we're ass, but I'm not going to say we won the Mikal Bridges trade. We did not win. We lost that trade. Karl-Anthony Towns, I still think is debatable either way. But if Minnesota trades Randall for Giannis, Minnesota won. They won, man. They won. It's one thing to trade Randall at his contract and not be able to move Karl-Anthony Towns at $53 million, right? And while he's being a diva too, stupid ass post-game comments. not a terrible defense, dumb fouls. He's been better lately, but it's, again, the larger sample size. Teams are thinking about last season. They're thinking about him disappearing in Indiana. They're thinking about him, the ups and downs, the start of his season, how he was like, we're trying our best with Mike Brown, right? We're trying to be a championship team, the offense, but I don't really know what my role is right now. It's like, bro, sometimes just shut up and play ball, right? I apologize too. I just realized I've had this mic plugged in and I haven't been using it. My bad, bro. My bad, man. I probably sound 10 times better, and damn, the show is almost over. So I think a referendum, every team, every fan base, at some point, when the guy's been there 5 years, like Leon Rose has, you should have a public referendum. Whether that referendum is in your house with your pops, or on your phone, your group chat, or on a pod with your friends, or on Twitter Spaces, there should be a referendum. If we lose out on Giannis, to take a full record of what Leon Rose has done and figure out, why do we not get Giannis? And look at the moves that got us here, and think about, and then judge Leon on were these the right moves or not. And that final answer really can't be solidified until the end of this year, and really the end of this 4-year championship window, which we are now in year 2 of. If we don't get a chip out of this, to me, Leon Rose was a failure. Point blank. If we don't get a chip out of this, because when he took over, we had all of our picks. We had lottery pick in RJ Barrett. We had a clean cap. He took over, and if he doesn't win a chip, it's a failure, right? It's chip or bust, man. This is New York. This is not Toronto Raptors, Sacramento Kings, Atlanta Hawks. This is the Knicks, right? We've gone over 50 years drought for a championship. And this guy preached patience. He fired Tibbs because he had one thing, a singular goal to win an NBA championship. And if he doesn't, you got to judge him. Kevin Swecker, man, look at him. Donate a damn, bro. Bro, we appreciate you so much, man. You have no idea how much this helps. Even $1.99, it helps so much. He says, fingers crossed, Giannis stays past deadline. I want the option. As Jay Ellis has said multiple times on the show, Jay Ellis is the host, founder of KOT. Favorite Knicks fan, best Knicks fan I ever met in my life, a brother to me. He says many times on this pod and in discussions with me that the only way Giannis comes to the Knicks before the summer at the deadline is if he demands the Knicks. And what I have been hearing the last 24 hours is the opposite of that. It's he's open to Minnesota. He prefers Miami. So if you're not hearing that by Shams and Windhorst and Mart Stein, guys with decades in the business, right, with a resume, I don't think that edict is being sent from Giannis to the front office and John Horst. I think they're going to get the best possible deal and package they can, and that's not the Knicks. So then you have to realize, why isn't the Knicks? And the main answer to me is the 5 first-round picks we traded for Mikal Bridges, which doesn't mean Mikal Bridges is a bum. Doesn't mean that he should be traded. It just means let's judge Leon Rose accordingly for what those 5 picks got us and what those 5 picks kept us from getting. That is a fair referendum on him, in my opinion. Randu, 1973. Lee, I totally agree with you about Leon Rose. I appreciate that, man. You don't have to agree with me, but I appreciate doing so always, right? You're the homie, man. Much love. If the Knicks are not in the finals, Leon Rose will definitely be fired. I find it hard to disagree with you based on one factoid, and that's a WFAN interview with James Dolan this past summer. When James Dolan interviewed, I can't remember who the host was, but he basically went on there and said, my expectations to make the finals. That essentially he has told Leon Rose that. He said, make the finals, and then he added a caveat, and win. If we don't make the finals, I think it is very possible, very, very possible Leon Rose is fired. I think that's possible. And then after the referendum, right, if we say we make a George Nain move, right, say that's the move we make. We trade for him, he's bought out, whatever. Let's say we add him. We go in and we don't make the finals. Say we lose to Detroit. We lose to Boston. We make the finals and we get swept, or we win one game. At that point, after 5 years with the team, I would not just say that Leon Rose would be fired. I think it would be fair to say he should be fired at that point. That's my take. Denise, 7754. Good to see you, my homie. Bridges is not worth first in any reality. Horrible trade. I think he was worth 2 first-round picks, unprotected, in my opinion. And the reason I say that, 2 reasons. Number one, he was exactly at the time what we needed, which was a backcourt mate for Jalen Brunson that he had chemistry with, that had the ability to play both on and off ball. Because I think the goal has always been to get Brunson more off ball, right? The Tom Thibodeau era was like Brunson led the lead in sometimes minutes, always in touches, always in live dribbles, right? Dribbles per possession. So the move was to get him off ball. And Bridges has been a great backup point guard and playmaker in long stretches this season and last season. He's a great passer. He's really good at finding his teammates. The ball doesn't stick in his hands. You got to give him credit for that. And also, he was a two-way guy. They wanted to pair Bridges and OG to create a wing stop. And I think he's been successful at that. But he's been successful at that at the return of 2 unprotected first-round picks, not 5. 5 picks is Kawhi Leonard, Giannis, prime LeBron, prime Wade, prime Harden. That's the type of return you get for 5 first-round picks. Mikal Bridges has never and will never be that level player, nor has he never nor will ever be worth 5 first-round picks. That is my opinion, and I think anyone's logical eye test would agree with that. Dimes and Knits, 4477. Knit fans are so ungrateful, shake my head. If Leon Rose is fired, we will be back to living the lottery. We are so short-sighted. That kind of is a train of thought to where if Leon Rose is fired, the whole team is strapped. I don't think that would happen at all. I think if Leon Rose is fired, I think the core would remain relatively intact. I think OG would stay. I think Hart would stay. I think Brunson would stay. You might see Bridges and Cat and Deuce potentially move for an upgrade, but I think those 3, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and especially Jalen Brunson, wouldn't be going anywhere. I think he would fire him and try to get a Bob Myers type guy. I don't think he would go and try to find some neophyte, to shout out Clyde, first-time GM. I think he would go out and try to find experience, someone who has experience building a championship roster. Those are very few and far between, but at this point right now, Bob Myers is available. I think he would try to go and find someone who's built chip to replicate that template here in New York. I don't think he would fire him and go for a downgrade. I think it would be a lateral move, the same way that Tibbs and Mike Brown was fairly lateral, or it would be a major upgrade. And James Dolan has never been afraid to spend money. He would pull out whatever it took, pause, to put the bag on the table and say, this is it, run the Knicks. So to me, I absolutely disagree. First of all, fans are never required to be grateful as fans. The team should be grateful they have us, not the other way around. We pay their bills. We buy their merch. We buy their streams. We watch their games. We pay their salaries ostensibly because we are the ones that are putting forth our hard-earned working class money toward a team to support them, not the other way around. They don't give us any money. So ungrateful, absolutely disagree. That's kind of an absurd take. And I did also think living a lottery is an absurd take. Number one, because Leon Rose traded our lottery picks, brother. So no, we wouldn't be living in the lottery. We'd be hoping that that the Nets are better than us so we can keep our pick, right? So also incorrect. Shout out my main man, Fritz Alexander in the chat. Man, best mod of the game, Fifth Beatle, Mod God, also the host of the NBA Economy Show. Make sure you check out that channel as well. I know Fritz is going to be really active during this trade season, doing his thing. APAP 1586. If Leon Rose replaced, just get a basketball man. I agree. Yeah, I think he would get someone that would be on paper a better hire, not a bigger question mark. I think there would be someone who is absolutely incredible, right? That would be 100% going to make this better, and would probably make this better in a different way too, right? Probably has different relationships, or has been a part of an organization that had superstar talent that might want to follow him here in New York, something to that degree. Dimes and Knits also adds, that would mean the guy upstairs is making them decisions again. Bad sign. I got bad news for you, bro. I think he's already a part of the decision-making. Tom Thibodeau was fired, and that was every single piece of reporting by the best reporters said that James Dolan had a hand in that he didn't necessarily push the button, but he was in direct conversation with Leon Rose and the players, and it was behind closed door meetings this past summer when they were taking account of the job that Tibbs did. He had his input, and Tibbs was fired. So he's already a part of the decision-making moves. That's a fact. You might not like it. I don't, but it's a truth. DJ the one. You don't fire the Don Leon Rose. He is competent and one of the best GMs we had in a long time. I trust Leon Rose. Yeah, man, I trust him too. I think he's done overall a pretty good job. I do think you fire him because you don't show allegiance to anyone in business. This is not Thanksgiving dinner where you're firing your uncle. This is a business endeavor. And in business, none of that matters. The power of friendship's out the window, bro. You make deals if you have a clear upgrade. Right now, Bob Myers is still available. There are other guys out there that are still available that I think should be in consideration. To me, if we fail to make the finals, there's going to be a hard argument against firing him, to me. Do I think he's competent? Yeah, competent doesn't mean elite. The definition of competent is like enough. The job was done, not above and beyond. I would agree that he is competent. One of the best GMs, I would rank him top 8. He's not top 3. Let's not fool ourselves. He's not top 3. I think it's not even top 5. But he's good. He's competent. Gregory Lee, 29-2. The only mistake Leon made was trading 5 picks from Bridges. I agree. You're saying the word mistake. I agree. That's the only one. There are trades that he hasn't won. There are moves. There are free agencies that were absolute shitting of the bed. Clarkson, Yabusele, 100%. Shit the bed. Pacome Dadier, terrible draft pick. Shit the bed. It's a first-round pick. But mistake, I wouldn't say that signing Jordan Clarkson off waivers was a mistake. I wouldn't say giving Yabusele even that second year guaranteed was a mistake. I would reserve the word mistake only for Bridges. However, that mistake is now potentially costing us in the Giannis race. So it's something to consider. Sam Presti's still the number 1 GM, hands down. 100% agree. I think it's pretty close between him and Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens done a hell of a job in Boston. Unbelievable job. I think it's really close between those two. I'm not sure who's in San Antonio. I don't think R.C. Buford is still the head guy there, but their drafting has been absolutely elite. The fleece they did for De'Aaron Fox, that's got to be considered too. They've really only had one bad draft in Jeremy Sohan. Devin Vassell, excellent. Keldon Johnson, excellent. Luke Cornett on the cheap this summer, excellent pickup. Like, bro, Harper, Castle, they have an unbelievable team, man. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Appreciate y'all checking in and holding down the fort. We've had damn near 700 people here this whole time, man. I really appreciate the love and the support that you guys have shown me in this episode. I will absolutely go live again on trade deadline day on Thursday. And if the Knicks make a move tomorrow, I will go live then as well and talk about the potential ramifications of what that trade means or what that move means or signing or waiving, whatever it is. And we will also be live tonight immediately after the Washington Wizards New York Knicks game when the Knicks win their 7th win in a row. I will go live and I will be here post-game to provide X's and O's commentary. My main man Fritz, Fritz here in the chat says he'll be here Thursday as well. Excellent. Do you know what that means? There won't be a single wrong financial stat said. Because if it's just me, I admit I'm gonna make some errors. But if Fritz is here, no errors, man. Fritz is the smartest capologist I know. The Knick of Time show has our own Brock Hour in the chat and on the panel. And make sure you watch and subscribe to the NBA Economy show as well. Again, if you've enjoyed the show, love me, hate me, no matter your sentiments, there's someone here on this panel for everybody. Please check us out post-game here on the KOT show, this YouTube channel. And please give this video a like. And even more so, if you really want to support us, a great American entrepreneurial spirit here at KOT, smart, intellectual, black, brown dudes and women trying to have conversations around the team that we love and are passionate for, give us a subscribe. So you know in the inbox when we go live, you get notified and you give your support. It's the best thing you can possibly do is to help us grow our channel and help Jay Ellis reach his dreams as a young African-American entrepreneur. He's a great man. And he deserves your support. I vouch for that with all my heart. Much love to you, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's go Knicks. I hope that Leon made something happen. And until then, I will see you tonight. Much love to you.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.